At the conclusion of my live premiere last night of my video, How the Beast Will Conquer the Earth, somebody commented in the live chat saying to me, basically, Travis, you've explained in vivid detail who the first beast of Revelation 13 is, Vladimir Putin. I'm curious, he said, who is the second beast of Revelation 13? And as I thought about it after I saw that comment, I haven't really talked in detail about the second beast of Revelation 13 since my old Beast System Revealed channel, which when I was covering that in detail was almost 3 years ago, or more than 3 years ago, really. And so I know people that subscribe to me now on this No Longer Lost channel really haven't heard me dive into what the second beast of Revelation 13 is really all about and how that's going to look. I always say in my videos that after this 42-month period that we're in, the beast will be promising us a new utopia on Earth, where the rights of humanity will be put in front of everything else. And that's the role that the second beast of Revelation 13 plays. And I'm going to explain to you as we read all of Revelation 13 again, I'm going to explain to you in detail what this all means. First of all, you have to understand there are two types of international laws. One is called maritime law. And for all of human history and governments that have been ruling over humanity, they have been utilizing internationally maritime law, maritime admiralty law, and it's the current international law. And as we read in Revelation 13, you'll see that the first beast of Revelation, the first beast that I always talk about, whose name is Vladimir Putin, who can make war with him, he rises up out of the sea, right? Out of the sea, and we'll read it to confirm that for you. What that is signifying and showing us is that he is operating still within maritime admiralty law, which is the most repressive way that humanity can be ruled. It's a type of law, and I'm going to play for you. This is hugely important, so you need to watch this until the end. I'm going to play for you at the end of this segment a 26-minute video that I found 3.5 years ago, right after COVID started, that I published on my Beast System Revealed channel. It's no longer out there. I can't find it anywhere, but I happened to download it back then, and I still have it on my computer. So I'm going to play that video for you, and it's called Dead in the Water, Maritime Admiralty UCC, and it's going to explain to you in vivid detail exactly the law of maritime law that we've been ruled under internationally for our entire lifetimes, and for the history, the recorded history of the earth. And to understand that is important, because as you're going to learn, when the second beast of Revelation arrives, he comes out of the earth, out of the land, right? And coming out of the land is signifying the ushering in of natural law or common law, which preserves the rights of human beings. And that's what's going to be promised in the coming utopia that begins in September of 2025, the utopia of the beast that basically everybody is asking for right now. People who understand this stuff say we need natural law, we need common law. Common law is good for humanity. And that's what the beast is going to bring us through the ushering in of the second beast of Revelation, who in turn will point back to the first beast to worship the first beast, as the first beast then comes along in rule of the entire world under natural law versus maritime law. And it's going to look like heaven on earth initially, and that is the greatest deceit. And that's why so many people, including Christians and those who profess God, are going to be deceived by it. Okay, so let's read again Revelation 13. I'm going to read all of 13, and we're going to discuss the details of what I'm saying right now. And then at the end of this, we're going to play that 26-minute video, Dead in the Water, Maritime Admiralty UCC, which explains maritime law and also explains natural or common law, where the world will be going after this 42-month cycle that we're in, that we're squarely in. We're a year into right now. So Revelation chapter 13 says, Then I stood on the sand of the sea, and I saw a beast rising up out of the sea. That is the first beast coming in under the current international law of the world, which is maritime law, out of the beast of the sea, or coming out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and on his horns 10 crowns, and on his heads a blasphemous name. Now, we've covered this in detail. The 7 heads signify the 7 continents of the earth, right? How every single continent is run under maritime law, out of the sea. And the 10 horns are the 10 kings that will rise up under the beast, that will help usher in this new age that the beast is ushering in. Now the beast which I saw was like a leopard. His feet were like the feet of a bear, and his mouth like the mouth of a lion. The dragon, which is Satan himself, gave him his power and his throne and great authority. So when it's saying that his feet, it was like a leopard, that means he's going to move real fast, like leopards do. I think leopards or cheetahs, I'm not sure which, but are one of the fastest running animals. And so he only has, as we'll learn, from the time he launched his war, when he showed his face, which was March 11th of 2022, as we'll read, he is given 42 months on this earth to operate under maritime admiralty law and basically overcome maritime admiralty law, right? Expose the evils for what it is on a worldwide basis, so that he can then, with the help of the second beast, usher in natural law, common law, the law of the land. And he's going to move fast because he only has 42 months. His feet were like the feet of a bear, and so nothing can stop him. Nothing can stop him as he plods through his plan, his plot, and his plods and plods and plods. And what's going to stop him? What's going to stop a bear? And his mouth like the mouth of a lion. So he is going to roar on this earth. He already is. They're just not showing it to us yet. He is roaring on the evils of what we're living in and what current governments are putting us through. And that's his entire goal, in order to be worshipped, is to expose all of that. And I saw one of his heads as if it had been mortally wounded, and his deadly wound was healed. And all the world marveled and followed the beast. And so this miracle that's going to happen when one of his heads receives a mortal wound, and he comes back to life, people are going to say, that must be God. Now, will that be a true resurrection? I don't think so. I think that the technologies in this world that we're unfamiliar with, when it comes to human cloning and things like that, if you followed me for a while, you know my strong theory that Vladimir Putin, the first beast of Revelation, is himself Vladimir Lenin, and that Russia, and I've delved into so much of this on past videos, I don't really want to get into it today, but Russia has been delving into human cloning ever since Lenin died. Over 100 years they've been working on human cloning, and there were many reports that the original Vladimir Putin had died in I believe 2012 of cancer, and it was well known throughout Russia, and it was all over Twitter at the time that Vladimir Putin was dead. And so when it says that the beast will be killed, or one of his heads will receive a mortal wound, and that he'll come back to life, that could easily be a deception, some sort of cloning incident, or just a deception we see on screens, because we believe what we see on screens to be true, and anything can truly be manipulated in any way, and the vast majority of people will believe it. All the world marveled and followed the beast, so they worshipped the dragon, who is Lucifer, who gave authority to the beast, and they worshiped the beast, saying, who is like the beast? Who is able to make war with him? Now this is what you need to understand, that the first beast of Revelation, his initial job is war, and that war is to expose the evils of maritime admiralty UCC law that runs our world internationally. And he was given a mouth, speaking great things and blasphemies. And he was given authority to continue or make war. And in verse 5, continue also means he was given authority to make war for 42 months, 3.5 years. So he launches the world war by invading Ukraine in and around March 11th of 2022, right? And from that point, the world war will last 42 months, ending on September 11th of 2025, when the one world reign of the beast will happen. And that is the point, and leading into that is when the second beast of Revelation will arrive to prepare the world for the coming utopia of the beast, and showing what natural law, what common law is going to look like, and how you'll be given universal basic income. You'll be told to pursue your passions. You'll be told that you now have the rights of God, that the God-given rights that you believe you should have, you now have. And maritime law has been canceled, destroyed internationally, and the beast himself is going to reign over the entire earth under natural law. What a deception! When you really understand after the end of this video what natural law is versus maritime law, you'll see how deep this deception really does go. And how hard it's going to be for the average person to see through it, because it's all going to sound great. Then he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God, to blaspheme his name, his tabernacle, and those who dwell in heaven. By blaspheme, he's going to say, I am God. I am the Savior of the earth. I am the Messiah. Yes, he is Lucifer's Messiah, the dragon. It was granted to him to make war with the saints and to overcome them. And that's what I talk about, and it's in line with Revelation chapter 6. By the end of the 5th seal of God's judgment, which concludes after these 42 months we're in, we have 2 years left until September 11th of 2025, a little less than 2 years. He will overcome the saints. All saints will be killed, will be executed by beheadings, by guillotine, according to Revelation 24, 5, and 6, and then will be in the first resurrection to go to Christ and learn for the next 3.5 years where the beast runs his whole deal on earth. So he was given authority to continue or to make war for 42 months. That's where we're at right now. Then he opened his mouth and blasphemed against God, to blaspheme his name, his tabernacle, and those who dwell in heaven. It was granted to him to make war with the saints and to overcome them, and authority was given him over every tribe, tongue, and nation. Every people. Tribe also means people. Over every people, tongue, and nation. After all the saints have been executed, he now has authority over all. And during his 42-month reign from September 2025 until March 11th of 2029, not a single soul on earth will turn to God. They will believe he is sent of God. And all that will be on earth at that time that serve the true and living God will be the 144,000 Jewish Israelites, 12,000 from each tribe, young Jewish virgin men, and the 2 witnesses prophesying and striking plagues from the capital of the worldwide reign of the beast, which will be Babylon, which will be in Jerusalem. And all who dwell on the earth will worship him, whose names have not been written in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. That's us. And we are in the book of life. By facing the end of the age as we have to do right now, and facing our own executions, that, as Jesus taught us in Revelation 20, automatically puts us in the book of life. Everybody who goes along with the plan of the beast will not be written in the Lamb's book of life. And when they are judged after the millennial reign, 1,000 years from the end of this age, they'll be in one of the millions of other books of what they've done on the earth. If anyone has an ear, let him hear. Whenever it says that, as I always say, that means prophecy. He who leads into captivity shall go into captivity. He who kills with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and faith of the saints. And so that's just how it's going to play out. And we don't retaliate. We don't fight with weapons. We don't fight the beast's plan with weapons. We fight with spiritual war and bringing people and building the kingdom of God while we are still here in these next 2 years. And we must be patient and ultimately must submit to the beast. And that's simply, just like Jesus had to submit to his oppressors, so will we. Then, now we're in verse 9, verse 11. Then I saw another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb and spoke like a dragon, like a lamb. Okay, now, this beast is coming up out of the earth. This symbolizes land, natural, common law. This is at the end of this current 42 months. This beast is now arising after all saints have been executed. Okay, you're going to see there will be more executions, but this clearly states that all saints will be executed prior to when the second beast arrives. It specifically said it was granted to him to make war with the saints and to overcome them in verse 7. So there will be other people killed that don't go along with this plan simply because they don't like it. It may have nothing to do with serving or worshiping Jesus. It's just the type of person that's like, nope, I don't like this. This doesn't seem right. They'll be killed as well, as you'll see. And he had two horns like a lamb and spoke like a dragon. So as of now, can I tell you exactly who this person will be on earth? How the second beast will be manifested? I don't know, because he's not going to arrive until September of 2029. They're in and about to prepare the world for the coming natural law internationally. And that's going to be his job. And to say that he had two horns like a lamb, it's going to be that he is coming in peace, like a lamb. But he spoke like a dragon, it says, which means he'll be very convincing. He'll be very convincing. He'll have a lot of, how do they say? Obama always had a lot of, I'm not saying it's Obama, could be, but a lot of, when you speak real fluently and engagingly, and people are love listening to you speak, it'll be someone like that, only more powerful, only more convincing, because he's going to be selling something that people are going to want. He's going to be selling natural law. And he exercises all the authority of the first beast in his presence, and causes the earth and those who dwell in it to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. So as he presents his message, think of him kind of in the hierarchy of Satan. Think of him kind of like with what Jesus did when he was on earth, and he's constantly pointing to the Father. And that's what the second beast will be doing. As the first beast then says, I've done my job, I've destroyed maritime admiralty law. We're bringing in, through the leadership of the second beast, we're bringing in the new natural law into earth, and it's going to be wonderful. And the second beast, it says, he performs great signs, so that he even makes fire come down from heaven on the earth in sight of men. And that can be done in any way with the technology that exists now, and make it look extremely believable. And he deceives those who dwell on the earth by those signs which he was granted to do in the sight of the beast, telling those who dwell on the earth to make an image to the beast who was wounded by the sword and lived. And now we're going to get into the image of the beast, which is artificial intelligence brought to life. And that is what's going to kill the people that don't go along with this plan, because they just don't fit in the earth anymore. He was granted power to give breath to the image of the beast. So it's going to be a robot. The image of the beast will be an AI-run robotics. That's going to go around and force people to obey the beast. And if not, they'll simply be removed. That the image of the beast should both speak and cause as many as who would not worship the image of the beast to be killed. He causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hands or on their foreheads, and that no one may buy or sell except he who has the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. And this is all going to be tied into the central bank digital currencies that are coming initially on a nation-by-nation basis, but ultimately a one world central bank digital currency during the second 42-month reign of during the reign of the beast, which is the second 42 months that he gets, again, from September 25 until March of 2029, that the entire world will be run by one central bank digital currency. And if you don't have the mark for your security to transact within that central bank digital currency, you're out. You're out. And they're not just going to leave you to flounder around. They're going to kill you. Because why wouldn't you want this beautiful new society based on natural law that's going to be painted as such a wonderful thing that's going to deceive the vast, vast, vast majority of the world, probably 98% of the world? Here is wisdom, that he who has understanding calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man. His number is 666. And I don't really want to get into the 666 right now. We covered that in detail in my series on the revelation of Jesus Christ that's on this channel on a playlist. If you want to dive into that, just go look for the video that has a thumbnail with the 666. And that's going to explain to you what the 666 means, signifies. And so as you can see, the second beast that comes out of the earth versus the first beast that comes out of the sea hold two completely different ways of ruling the world. But ultimately, it's all leading into the natural law that humanity is going to think sounds so completely wonderful, remembering always that Satan is the greatest deceiver and he'll give you the greatest promises, which he will. It's going to sound so good. It's why I always say, if I don't stay close in the spirit, I will be deceived. Everyone's going to look at people like me, or hopefully you, and be like, you're crazy. This is exactly what we've been battling for. This is exactly the world we want, run by natural law, preserving the rights of humanity. Versus the law we have now, where there are so many laws under admiralty law, that I remember years ago, the Wall Street Journal even reported that the average adult in America commits 7 felonies a month and doesn't even know it. That's how overrun we are with rules and laws and ordinances and things that make life impossible to live. And that's what the beast is going to exploit. And that's what the second beast is going to then solve by bringing in the law of the land. So I want you to watch now this 26-minute segment called Dead in the Water, Maritime Admiralty UCC. And you'll see exactly what we've been living through our entire lives and through all of history. And you'll understand much, much better how when the second beast arrives offering the opposite of this, that the entire world will be deceived.
Planet Earth is comprised of 1/4 land and 3/4 water, geographically. The average human body is composed of up to 90% of its weight in water from birth. The human fetus spends 9 months approximately in utero and in water. All living creatures that have breath are born in and or from water. The Earth contains roughly 368 trillion cubic meters of water. Humans throughout history have used less than 10% of the world's water resources at any time. The average modern-day human being uses approximately 100 gallons of water a day. That is 5 times the weight of the average human being, over 800 pounds. The average healthy human being will drink up to 3 gallons of water a day. All of the planet's most ancient mythos, theos, and cosmologies record creation events that begin with water. All laws, since primordial antiquity, were written to regulate land and sea separately. Laws pertaining to land became the law of the land, or rather natural or common law. And laws pertaining to the sea became law of the sea, or rather maritime admiralty law, which is international law and the same everywhere in the world, no matter where you go. All laws since time immemorial originate from and are based upon ecclesiastical or canon law via the ancient laws and ecclesiastical right of kings. Natural or common law primarily preserves the inalienable rights and needs of human beings who live on land, differing between nations. The law of the sea, or maritime admiralty law, primarily grants the right that is legal to conduct merchant, banking, corporate, international commerce. Seeing how living persons cannot live on or in water for extended periods of time, and the Earth's seas have been used primarily for travel since antiquity, regulation of the sea for merchant, trafficking, shipping, and commerce through law became necessary for the merchants of nations to do business internationally. The law of the sea, maritime admiralty law, is universal and transcends all national boundaries and laws legally. What is legal is not necessarily lawful. Natural or common law, the law of the land preserving the rights and freedoms of living persons, is lawful. Maritime admiralty law, or UCC, Universal Commercial Code, is legal, and that legal robbery and murder. In ancient Rome, a Roman maxim law stated that he who will be deceived, let him be deceived, which means the responsibility of the deception is on the one that is deceived by it. Basically, if you get it up the hoop, or what we commonly refer to as being stiffed, shafted, that's your problem. Unbeknownst to everyone, maritime admiralty law, the international law of the high seas, came upon land like a flood and made every man, woman, and child since that time dead in the water. The word maritime comes from the Proto-Italic cognates mer, mar, mare, and mari, which all mean water. These cognates are found in words like commerce and merchant and maritime. The water that flows by currents in rivers is directed by the river banks. Water that flows in the world of maritime admiralty law is money, because money is water. Money is currency. It's liquid, as in liquid assets. Money, or monai, mono-I, or simply one eye in maritime admiralty banking laws, is the lifeblood, the cash flow of the system of merchandising and traffic. To traverse this fictional world, there must be ships. Ships traverse water or the sea, and when they come to land, they come into a port. When you plug your electronic device into a computer, you're plugging it into a USB port, a universal serial bus port. The world of the internet is analogized with water as well. We have the deep web, and when you do a live social media broadcast on the internet, you are streaming the show. When a ship pulls into the port, it comes down a canal to where there is a dock, and there the ship is tied off. The ship's captain submits to the dockmaster a manifest of birth, a license and manifest of goods and services being delivered by the ship to the dock. The dockmaster signs the manifest claiming the cargo as property now of the ward, which includes livestock. All ships are female. A woman is a ship. A man is a fabricator. A man delivers semen into a vessel. The woman bears the cargo. of the seaman and labors for 9 months, wherein her water breaks, and the seamen in the hold come down the birth canal through a port of entry and are delivered in a hospital delivery room. According to Black's Law Dictionary, a hospital is also a bank and also a church. The woman has shipped newly birthed admiralty maritime product, stock, livestock, cargo. A doctor will untie the ship from the cargo, stock, the product, by cutting the umbilical cord to the ship or vessel and sign a birth certificate, a manifest of birth, after the cargo has been stamped or daubed by a footprint and fingerprint with blood and ink. And after the informants, which are your parents, sign the manifest, which is plainly written on the certificate itself, your parents, the informants, are informing the doctor that the cargo, the stock, is now delivered and can be claimed by signature. The doctor signs the certificate, making you now lost at sea as unclaimed corporate property, cargo, stock, product, commodity. You are now legally dead in the water, and your name appears in all capital letters and on every other legal document. And as I said, legal is not necessarily lawful. The word capital, capital, etc. comes from the Latin caput, which means skull, and the word El, which is named for the Phoenician, Hebrew, and Roman god Saturn, which can be found in the Bible. Capitol is where we get Capitoline Hill, Golgotha, Capitol Hill, as in Washington, D.C. Caesar in antiquity ruled from the hill, just as modern-day presidents, monarchs, and popes rule from hills. A gangster may shoot someone in the head and say, "I capped him," a euphemism for a bullet causing death to the head. The word captain comes from the word capital, which means money or one eye, and equals water, the currency ration. All corporations are fictional. They exist on paper as a dead body vessel, just as your name in all caps on a birth certificate. The Constitution of the United States was formed in 1776, but the Constitution of the Incorporation of the United States was in 1871. The Corporation of the United States was formed in Delaware, Maryland in 1871 and became the United States, Inc. All citizens of U.S. Inc. have a license to work for U.S. Inc. They are employees. All corporations must have three things: a president, a vice president, and a secretary-treasurer. Everything in the world of merchant corporate banking law revolves around ships, as ships are carried by the water, which is the current sea, and all corporations are ships. If you want to have a car, you must have an ownership. If you want to be a citizen of a nation or country, you must get a citizenship. If you go into business with someone, you enter a partnership. If you want to learn a trade, you may enter an apprenticeship. Want to go to college and get your degree? Get a scholarship. Want to go buy a new car? You go down to the dealership. If you are traveling by car, you may enter a township before you enter the very town. When a man and woman get married, and the word invokes maritime admiralty law, they enter a business contract and obtain a marriage license to do business as a partnership. If you go to a church, which means a bank according to Black's law, you are going to a place of worship. Everything is a vessel, a fictional ship created out of thin air on paper in the sea of corporate commercial banking laws of pirates of the high seas. A person, according to Black's Law Dictionary, is a monster. According to canon law, Goyim, translated from the Hebrew to mean nations, cattle, chattel, animals, beasts, non-human according to rabbinical sources which are authoritative in ecclesiastical or canon law, which includes Talmudic rulings. Goyim have no rights. Admiral or admiralty laws apply to the authority of the captain, who is the admiral of the ship. The captain, or rather the admiral, who has absolute power and control of the ship, can make up the rules as he goes along. The word admiral comes from the cognates admire and the Phoenician Hebrew Roman name of deity Saturn El. Wherever there is a crown, you had better admire and have admiration for the king who is the captain, commander-in-chief, or else. Under common law, there is no such thing as a victimless crime, and a victim receives compensation and redress for damages. Aboard a ship, the captain can make any act a crime and he can impose sanctions accordingly. If you have a house and want to sell it, you put it up for sale. You are placing a sale on a ship which will set sail and dock to another port when sold. When you send a package somewhere abroad, you are shipping it, even though it's more than likely traveling by land. If you are losing your house, it's said that your house is underwater. If you get in trouble with the IRS or if you go to prison, it's said you have landed in hot or deep water, and someone has to come and bail you out. A ship pulls into a port and gets tied off at a dock. When you go to a court, your case is placed in a docket. All courts in the land are judiciaries. They are judicial courts operating under mixed Roman, common, canon, and admiralty maritime law under a crown. They are ships docked on land. This according to the Judiciary Act of 1789 passed by Congress, which made all district courts admiralty courts having maritime admiralty jurisdiction. The United States of America and the United States are two different entities. One is a corporation, the other employees of the corporation. The United States of America never ever did win its independence from the Crown in the Revolutionary War. The Charter of Virginia of 1606 granted colonists a license to settle and colonize America by the King. The Treaty of 1783, after Cornwallis surrendered to Washington at Yorktown, completely contradicts and negates the generally assumed and taught notion that America won its independence from Britain. The first article of the Treaty of 1783 relinquishes all claims to America except for the continued tribute to the King under the Charter of Virginia of 1606. The charter was invoked by King James I, who gave you the King James Bible, and it states in Section 9 of the charter, and I quote, "Yielding therefore to us, our heirs and successors, the 5th part of all the same gold and silver, and the 15th part of all the same copper, so to be gotten or had as is aforesaid, without any other manner or profit or account, to be given or yielded to us, our heirs or successors." The Revolutionary War was over in 1781, but the Treaty of 1783 was signed 3 years later, which means the war was not over, nor was it won. The Treaty of 1783 upheld the tribute to the king's venture by the colonists, which means America remains to this day a British colony that pays tribute to the crown, as imposed by the Charter of 1606. America was conquered. Liberty is not freedom. A sailor on a ship gets liberty when he's allowed to have a short leave from the vessel when the ship pulls into port. A dog has liberty on a leash when you take him for a walk. A prisoner gets liberty when he's allowed out of the cell into the courtyard for a few hours while under the careful watch of snipers. Liberty is a license. It is a privilege allowed by a ruler, owner, king, etc. to a subject of the same. America never has been the land of the free at any time. It's the land of liberty on the leash of the crown. In the year 1106, the judgments or rules of Oleron were first implemented by Eleanor of Aquitaine, after her return from the Second Crusade, having accompanied her first husband, King Louis VII. These were codified maritime admiralty laws that were supposed to protect the Crusaders' estates and titles while they went and fought the Crusades. This was based on the Greek maritime law of Rhodes of 900 BC called Lex Rhodia, which in turn came from the mariner laws codified ecclesiastically by the Phoenicians, who began their merchant mariner empire in 1586, lasting 1,000 years. In the year 1666, a great fire broke out in London while the Black Plague was ravaging Europe. The fire was intentionally set in Pudding Lane, as some historians believe, to clear out the slums to make way for what would eventually be the City of London. Parliament, behind closed doors in secret, invoked the Sesquiquivir Act of 1540, enacted by the then King Henry VIII, reworked and instated by Charles I of the time. Sesquiquivir from the Old French into English means "this killed that life." This made all men, women, and children presumed and assumed dead, and a trust set up. According to Black's Law Dictionary, Sesquiquivir means the person whose life measures the duration of a trust, gift, estate, or insurance contract. The life of a trust is 7 years under the law of limited liability. This act is most diabolically evil because it killed everyone and gave them 7 years to claim back their lives. The fires of 1666 also created the only parcel of land on the planet that does not have a title deed, the Golden Mile, the City of London, which is a corporation having its own flag, its own constitution and laws, its own defense and police forces. The Golden Square Mile holds the Bank of England, the London Metal Exchange, Fleet Street, FTSE Stock Exchange, the Royal Mint, and the Old Bailey Courthouse. The United States channels billions yearly to the Bank of England to pay the Crown's tribute. In 1913, the Federal Reserve was set up, the brainchild of a secret meeting held on Jekyll Island in 1910. As United States Inc.'s debt soared well above the estimated gold reserves the corporation of the U.S. held as a standard for the dollar, the Federal Reserve Act was passed on Christmas Eve while Congress was away, giving the power for a foreign corporate entity to print fiat and collect interest on monies created from thin air. A bank does not loan you money. That's illegal. A bank gives you credit, which is legal, but not necessarily lawful. In 1917, the Balfour Declaration was introduced, paving the way for the establishment of the State of Israel in 1948. The Bolshevik Revolution broke out in Russia that was funded and began by Wall Street bankers such as Jacob Schiff and J.P. Morgan. That same year, Woodrow Wilson signed in the War Powers Act that basically stated that the U.S. was stopping all trade with the enemy except for those whom are granted a license, which excluded Americans. Licenses began to be issued in 1933. In 1933, the U.S. had reached Section 11 bankruptcy. President Roosevelt amended the War Powers Act of 1917 and declared all U.S. citizens as enemies of the state. There was a declared national emergency on March 9th, with an emergency act being passed placing all power, property, and resources of the U.S. into the hands of the President under martial law that has continued ever since. This is renewed yearly by executive order. The Federal Reserve began to print fiat money. The all-seeing eye was placed on the dollar bill. All men, women, and children born ever since arrive as collateral for U.S. Inc.'s debt, as slaves and enemies of the state. The balance of debt versus collateral is determined through illegal wars for profit, where the debt versus collateral is balanced, or rather the herd of slaves is thinned out. What all this means, ladies and gentlemen, is you are all slaves and cannon fodder for the nations you are in and who are subservient to the rulers running them. You have been turned into collateral for national debts. Consider this when hearing about the imminent collapse of the economy soon to take place. When debts cannot be paid, you are said to be in deep water, and those in deep water usually drown. Shylock, according to Shakespeare, asks for a pound of flesh to pay the bill. The owners of U.S. Inc. demand the same according to Admiralty Maritime statutes you are all under. The sun never did set on the Roman Empire, and Rome is just as alive today as it was a couple thousand years ago. You are all owned property and subservient to a crown, whether you like it or not. You are all considered dead and unclaimed by the crown, who laid claim and made you their bitch. You cannot, nor are you allowed to speak for yourself, as dead persons cannot speak, and is why you need a lawyer to speak for you in a court. The dead have no rights. This is all based upon ancient ecclesiastical or canon law at its root and core. When you board a ship called a church, which is also considered a bank under Maritime Admiralty, and embark upon it, the licensed and registered pastor or priest must teach and keep you obedient to the monarch, the crown. Because he who wears the crown, which is the monarch, is the head of the ship called church. He is the king, the lord and captain of the ship called church, and the pastor or priest is an agent of the crown. Maritime Admiralty, or rather Universal Commercial Code, or UCC, is the matrix pulled over everyone's eyes that governs all, because everything has been made into ships on the sea of corporate commerce. Without their one eye, which is money, which is water, all ships are dead at sea and cannot traverse their fictional matrix they created. It's now high time for a concerted universal mutiny.